Okay, in this video, we're going to talk about dynamics domain effects. So these are effects that deal with the dynamic level of a signal or volume. And I'm going to start with the most simple dynamics domain effect. It's called a gate. And it works just like a gate might work on your, on the fence that comes to the front of your house. Sometimes the gate opens and lets things through, and sometimes it closes and doesn't let things through. So I've got the gate inserted on the drum overhead track here. So let's just hear this. Let me bypass the gate. So we hear everything here. So when I turn it on, we see it's got a threshold, and we can set that threshold up to 0, in which case we will hear everything. I'm sorry, in which case we'll hear nothing, because nothing gets to the 0. Or we can set it very low, in which case we'll hear everything. And as I move the threshold, we will only hear the things that are louder than the threshold. So we've essentially been able to eliminate most of the cymbals because they're not as loud as the snare in this particular context. Now this is not an effect that I actually want to use here, so I'm going to remove it from this mix. So another type of dynamics domain effect is called a compressor, and I have one inserted on the bass submix here. So the compressor, like most of our other dynamics domain effects, has a threshold, which is the point at which the effect starts to work. Compressor also has a setting called the ratio, and that's how much the dynamic level above the threshold gets compressed. So if we, I'm going to turn this down so I can talk and we can't hear it, but you see as it's playing, nothing's really kicking in because this level's never getting to minus 10 dB. But if I turn the threshold down, you see that everything that comes above, it's down at like minus 35, which is super low now, comes above this gets compressed. And if I turn this ratio up, it gets compressed even more. Right? So let me turn this back up here so we can hear it. This is a super crazy setting. It's really loud. So, but the idea is what we want to do is we want to make the high end, the loudest part of the signal, compressed closer together, and then we can turn the whole thing up. So let me turn this off. And then if I bring it back in, so what we've done is we've brought down the high parts. Now over here there's something called the makeup gain. So we hear this, and then I'm going to bypass it and come in and out of bypass, so you hear the difference in the sound. So really what we're doing, we are making the bass a little louder, but we're in effect making it sort of thicker and more present. So let's do this in the context of the whole mix now.
She's wicked, but she knows. I think 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 she's wicked, but she knows.
So you hear how it's really fuller with the compression on this bass submix. So that's the basic thing I want us to get from this is that we've got a threshold and a ratio and a makeup gain. There are some other things around attack and release that we will talk about later. But on the basic level, the settings you need to be most aware of: threshold, ratio, makeup gain. And that's a compressor.